Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Black Adam. So, I feel that Black Adam compared to like Justice League or Justice League the Snyder Cut, I feel like it can possibly feel a little bit better about this movie than I could about them. But I feel like Black Adam is a real stretch fest. I feel like everything that came out before this movie did was to really try to ruin this film. Like the trailer ruins this movie. Obviously, there is to have been a panel where certain people were to have gone on and given us away something for this movie. And so I also feel that a lot of this movie is trying to steal, copy, and paste from every MCU movie to try and go on and have so many things that are so similar that it's ridiculous. But, in all honesty, Dr. Fate was the best thing about this film. Dr. Fate was better than everyone combined. Black Adam, Atom Smasher, Cyclone, whoever she was supposed to be, Hawkman, who I've gone on and looked at him and like, man, his ears look weird in this film, or his wings, like, man, do they just look goofy throughout this whole entire film. But hey, like, it feels like they just recycled the same costume from Smallville, and they didn't really change much. They really didn't change much. It feels to me it's like the same character. They couldn't have made him more unique to this film, but whatever. Anyways, they made Fate look fairly unique. He doesn't even have any eyes in his helmet anymore. It's crazy. So, going on into this film, teeing it up, so we have this kind of past moment, and then we have modern day, and so just really the villains in my mind are just really weak throughout most of this movie, and then they have to present there with more of a challenge to finish up this film. And by then I'm like, man, we just got through like a third of this movie with just really just characters that all this team could have gone on and just kind of like swatted them like flies and would have been done and over with quickly in this movie. But yet, like, so much about this is just that, like, the Justice League was, or the Justice Society in this movie was so focused on Black Adam that they couldn't see past what was the real threat, was just these mercenaries who, of course, are to be called Intergang. Which immediately when I heard that, I was like, okay, like, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know who these people could really be. And then throughout the movie, I'm like, okay, who can these people really be? When am I going to see something like intergangly cool? And then I looked up in the Google, and then I was like, oh my god, like, this is the Intergang? Really? Like, I thought I was going to be way more impressed than I really was, and I wasn't. So I was like, okay. And so we then go on and have to set up a big bad by the end of this film. But by then I'm like, well, like, I don't really care. Like, we already have what is to really just be a Justice League here. And the end level villain is basically a Steppenwolf kind of character to me. So how is this not different than Justice League? Because I'm already getting Justice Society and Justice League confused because they feel like the same thing. But so, in all honesty, like, I was to kind of think that they were to kind of set up like all of this Justice Society team like way in the past. But instead, it feels like now we have like two different teams going on now. We have Justice League and now we have Justice Society, and so it's like, well, like, is that going to lead us to have like way more like multiple different like Earth Justice Leagues, or like is there going to be a number of different kind of like how are we gonna go on to like know that all these things exist and why they all exist, and why haven't they been there to help out so and so threats, because they should have, but why didn't they step in, and so on and so forth. Were these things just set up just now? Because I don't know. So anyways, with that said, let's tee up this film. So in the beginning of this film, we have this start out in Kanda in 2600 BCE. So, beginning of this is to set up the rise of what is to be Black Adam, having at some point this person become a slave, and then needing a person to step in and try and get everybody to turn around and go and give diamond cutters or Jay-Z symbols to everybody to just say like, hey guys, let's all rebel here. Let's try and defy this king, because we're sick and tired of needing to consistently grind for this one mineral, because he desperately needs to forge this crown, because this is Lord of the Rings all over again. So we go on to, after the champion is to be chosen, the Rock of Eternity, of course, is, with all its wizards, goes on to give us a Black Adam. And so he, of course, is to go on and fight off this king, but that all leads to Black Adam being buried along with this kingdom. So we go on and are to have a girl named Adriana, who is to want to seek out the crown, and that, of course, gets the attention of what is to be this modern day, as well as Adriana being put in the modern day. This gang simply called Intergang. And so they end up going on to chase after Adriana, because it seems that finally they couldn't have been bothered for a number of years to go on and themselves get the crown. But it seems that when finally someone else is looking for it, it's like, oh yeah, well, like, we're just going to take that from them because we're freaking lazy. And so it not only becomes like the struggle for the crown, but then Black Adam comes in and is to quickly have to understand that he's going to have to be the champion for Kanda yet again, the modern day Kanda. And so we go on and have this kid who is Amon, who is to really just set up Black Adam to understand like what superheroes are like today, and they have to, weirdly enough, have stupid catchphrases, where in this case the one that Black Adam is given is frickin' stupid, but he has to recite this throughout the whole film. So we then go on and have Black Adam, who, after it seems he's to go on and thrash his way through these mercenaries, we then go on and have to set up the whole Justice Society, and they don't really get all that well and good backstories. Especially Cyclone, they just say like, oh, hey, here's some traits about her, and like, here she is. Like, I think the only person that really set up is probably Atom Smasher, because probably no one is, at the most, probably familiar with this person. but they only end up kind of giving him a setup with Uncle Al, whoever Henry Winkler really is in this film. And so we then go on to have the Justice Society go up against Black Adam and waste a lot of time there, stretch that out. And so they turn around and they realize that it's like, well, wait a minute, like, we have to all team together. We have to put our differences aside because we have to go on and just figure out where the F this whole crown thing is and trying to figure out a way to neutralize it. And after they think that they all are to be able to high five and they think that they've won and they think that they can roll credits, it's like, wait a minute. And so then we go on to realize that Dr. Fate is to know within his own helmet that somebody's going to die. And they have to figure out who it is in this Justice Society team who's going to die. Is going to be Black Adam? Is he going to die? Are they not going to give us a sequel here? Are they not going to give us an end credit scene that Black Adam is in? That would also give us another character that's like, whoa, we knew this all along. Thanks for not exactly surprising us. But so, but anyways, I'm going to go on and also like tell you in spoilers, like the setup of how this team gets together. And for those of you who have gone on and seen other team movies, you could probably have figured out that team setup. But again, or if you've seen this movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But so, then the big bad rolls in. They're fighting that off. Really good, like, way to finish this movie up. And then we end up going to credits, and we have one end credit scene because I couldn't have gone on and found out if there was another one. So it's like, okay, there must just be one because it only showed just the one when I was watching this through the bootlegged thing that I did. Because I didn't go on and go into theaters and watch this movie because I didn't know how good it was really going to be. And plus also, I rarely go on and watch movies in theaters anyways anymore. Luckily for me. So with that said, where can you go on and watch a bootleg version of Black Adam so at least you can see the film and avoid all the spoilers like anybody would always go on and try to pull off to spoil you. So if you want to go on and watch a free version of Black Adam, you can also, as well as I did, go on and find a app on the Google Play Store called Play UHD. So those are Play and UHD are two different words. You can go on and find this through the Google Play Store, and you'll find that Play UHD has a logo that says Fox HD Movies on it, and you should hopefully go on and download that app, be able to watch Black Adam, as well as a number of things for absolutely free. This version of this movie is not like 100% the clearest, crispiest version, but it looked good enough to me. I definitely was to go on and understand and know what was going on in this film, but you'll probably figure that out really through spoilers, how much I could really remember or how much I knew. So, with that said, you could probably also go on to Yes Movies through more than likely a Google search. That could also be an app that you can go on and find. Could give you access to a number of different movies and shows for absolutely free. And then at some point you could probably go on to 123 Movies. You gotta find the right 123 Movies app though, because sometimes the servers don't work or the content can't be accessed. So you just have to find the right app to go on and find which thing will work for you. But other than that, Doxy, when this movie comes out as premium access, but I'm sure it's just going to be pushed off to HBO Max for you to at some point go on and see after this movie's released. So, by that time. So, when going on, let's just go into spoilers because there's a lot to get out of here. And there's also going to have me consistently want to just rush through this film and then have me possibly backpedal because I just want to get this kind of over and done with to get this out. So, without a doubt, it's about that double five time territory yet again. To, of course, go on into spoiler time. It's about that time you spoil this movie. So, in the beginning of the film, and I feel like I also want to go on and just like ruin the big twist in this movie and turns because I really want to like always do one continuous story instead of going on and like separating it and going back to things and all of that rigmarole. So that's probably more than likely what I'm going to try and do here. So that'll be what it is. So we have Kanda in 2600 BCE. So we go on and are to find out within this movie that we have a King Octon, who is to rule over all of these people. And so it seems that they are having to go on and find this Eternian mineral that is to go on and be used to forge the crown of Sabak. All these names are just going to be so easy, just fly off to just say here. It's going to be great. As well as certain portion of this movie is to be done in subtitle, but like very little, but still, it's annoying. So, we go on to, of course, have one of these people find this mineral that I'm not going to say again so I can try to avoid it as much as possible because I know I'm going to trip over it and fall over it and not say it correctly anyways. So, and we have Harut, who is to try to like pull everyone aside and get this guy to go to one of these guards so that way this guy can trade to hopefully either get a day off or get some kind of reward out of this. And the guard who is to go on and look at this mineral and just be like, all right. And so they're like, well, hey, what is the reward going to be for finding this? And the reward ends up being that this guard takes the man who found this mineral and slices him in the chest and has him fall over into this just underground hole. And so the guard ends up talking to Harut and is to say, like, that's your reward. Like, do you want one also? Like, that's his reward? Do you want another reward? Do you want a reward for you coming to me with that? So telling us that it's like, hey, just keep working till you die, and you going into the afterlife might just be your own reward. So Harut is sick and tired of being a slave and has to like consistently work for this guy. So he again, if I hadn't stated this already, he freaking diamond cutter Jay-Z's everybody and is like, hey guys, do this a lot. Do one of these! Do one of these, everybody. And they're all just like, wow, that looks really cool. It looks like a diamond. Let's diamond like everyone else is doing. Like, let's be Rihanna. Diamonds are forever, everybody. So, everybody's, like, DDPing, diamond cuttering everybody. So, we then have Harut, who realizes he's going to be the champion for all of these people. And so, that is to immediately assess that this kid is going to have to go on and become Black Adam. And it seems like that at the beginning of the story, but we find out actually that is to be twisted further down the line in the film. To instead go on and find out that yes, Harut does go on and become the champion of these people, but he turns around and is to give up his power to his father. And immediately after that, we, of course, have Teth Atom, who was Heorot's father, go on and become Black Adam, and he then goes off to this kingdom and completely, like with his rage, explodes this entire kingdom and destroys it and just leaves it to rubble. As we are to go on and have this king who has gotten his crown, and so with all of this rubble that is to have gone on and happened here, we now slip into modern day. And so come to find out, the Kanda of the modern day is to go on and have this gang, who of course is the Enter Gang, who seems to be these mercenaries that is policing and controlling this whole environment to the point of stopping people wherever they are to go to just inspect their vehicles, or even people that are on like skateboards, like Amon. It's like, well, hey, wait a minute, like I want to go on and search you. And so we have this vehicle that is to, of course, have Kamir, Adriana, and Ishmael and Samir, and they are wanting to all go on and try and find this crown of Sabak. And so they end up going on to this archaeological dig, while Amon is staying at home. So they go on to try and find this crown, and of course, now the Enter Gang gets off their lazy butts, and it's realized, like, hey, somebody's coming after this crown. I think we should finally be looking into getting to it, right? We couldn't have been bothered to have gone on through a number of years and tried to get it any other time, but since someone else is grabbing for it, now we have to, because the Enter Gang is obviously lazy. So we have Adriana that goes in with Samir and Ishmael, while we have Kareem, who is kind of like the lookout guy, who's consistently like, baby, come back, you can blame it all on me. I'm like, this kind of reminds me of like Transformers, when the one like Bumblebee is like driving and trying to get after God, was it Megan Fox? That whole scene, and so they had, baby, come back. So anyways, we go on to find out that Samir had fallen off this rock and had died, and so Adriana is now asking Ishmael, like, well, hey, where is Samir? And Ishmael is saying, like, well, he went on and like he had to take a smoke break or something, just trying to figure out what lies she can make up here. So the longer and longer we wait, we realize that the Raptor team is the Enter Gang is calling the Raptor team and seeing, like, hey, where's your progress? Like, do you have the crown yet? Yada, yada, yada. So, come to find out, we have Ishmael, who's working for the wrong side here. So, that ends up getting the Enter Gang to be bringing in Kareem and Adriana to just kill them off here, because they are getting to the crown. And so they finally do get to the crown. And so By the time that Adriana is to hand it over, she then notices a certain scripture that is on the ground, and she starts stating it. And that leads to, of course, all of a sudden Black Adam appear and is to start fighting them off in this cloak like costume. So we go on to have Black Adam that then goes out of this kind of this cave to then realize that there is a number of other intergang characters coming through here. And so this is just set up like Thor Ragnarok when uh, like Thor is kind of going through all of the like the zombie characters that Hela has like brought back. So we go on to have The Rock, who's just lightning everybody and like just kind of tossing this helicopter and grabbing the like propeller piece from it and like killing all these people, murdering everybody. And so that ends up leading Adriana and her getting to her car with Kareem and getting the heck out of there. It's like, hey, let's drive out of here and hope that that Black Adam guy doesn't see us as a threat and try to kill us off. So they run off back into town, and so we now have, of course, Hawkman, who is alerted for this third world country by Amanda Waller. So Amanda Waller seems to now be like every time there's a team movie, with the exclusion of some Justice League stuff, it seems that she's going on and she's like the tie for every team now. She has to be in all of these Justice League movies and all of these things at some point now. So good for her, because man, like for whatever roles that she was doing in all those other movies, now she can go on and just, yeah, man, I'm just consistently being on all these films. So Amanda Waller is to go on and ask Hawkman, like, hey, like, or Carter Hall, because that's the original like name of this character. So Carter Hall is to set up like, okay, like I'm definitely gonna go on and get Cyclone, and like she's this tech girl and this and that, and Amanda Waller's like, yeah, but like, don't you really need to go on and get some like heavy hitters in your team? Like she seems kind of weak, and also like nobody cares about her. Let's just be clear. So Hawkman is just like, well, yeah, I'm gonna get my hammer, like I'm gonna get like Atom Smasher, and he's gonna go on and like he's gonna be our big hitter. And then also Hawkman's like, well, yeah, and I also have Doctor Fate too, just to round out the team. You know, the best thing about this movie is that Doctor Fate guy, but you know, I'm bringing in Kent. That I thought was so interesting how like Dr. Fate's name is like Kent Nelson, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember like Dr. Fate all that well, but I thought it was kind of interesting how like immediately when I think of Kent, I'm thinking of like Clark Kent, and so like I was thinking of like Superman this whole time, and then come to find out, when you know what, by the end credit scene, so we go on and we set up Atom Smasher more so than anybody else. Everybody's like, hey, I arrived. Oh, look at me. Isn't this great? Sure. Even though Cyclone really should have just been Red Tornado. It really should have just been Red Tornado. Or somebody actually good at whatever. So, Atom Smasher is to go on and get a call from Henry Winkler, aka Uncle Al. And so Uncle Al is to ask, of course, our Atom Smasher, who is Al here. So Al and Uncle Al. So I guess this kid was to have gone on and gotten this costume from Uncle Al. It's like, hey, like, did you get the suit? And Atom Smasher's like, okay, yeah, like I got the suit, like I'm raring to go. And so we have Uncle Hal, who's like, okay, just kind of listen to Hawkman, like he's going to be your leader, so on and so forth. And so they just kind of push him out of this vehicle, and they're like, okay, like go on to save the day. Which, of course, Adam Smasher, it seems, is to make slight tweakingly mistakes. Which, of course, Hawkman throughout this movie is like, hey, you and me, we're gonna have a talk, because you suck at this. Because, of course, out of everybody, I guess he is to be the only rookie here. We have to clearly state that by the little goofy things that he does. But I think that this character was trying to desperately be somewhat like either Ant-Man or Spider-Man, Tom Holland fused together. Because we have this character who's trying to be funny and like he's trying to make all these silly mistakes. Anyways, so we have all these characters go into the Hawk cruiser. Why does a man that flies need a ship? Like, I get it, technically it makes sense, because Hawkman is an alien, he's from Themyscira, and we have, like, nth metals and stuff like that, and so it does technically make sense that Hawkman does have a ship, but still, it bugs me to no end. But either way, we just have to go on and deal with it. So, we then go on and have Black Adam make his way to Adriana, because where else could he really go here? So, because Black Adam is to go on and get the mineral used as a weapon that he ends up getting shot and knocked out with. So, Adriana and Kareem are to bring him back to their place, and once he's to go on and wake up, he immediately heals his little wound, and we just have Amon, who's talking like a million miles a minute, and is to ask this guy, it's like, well, hey, like, you have all these powers, you have the electricity, you have the strength, you have this, you have that, it's like you're checking up on all the boxes, like, but how fast are you? Like, are you as fast as the Flash? And so on. And so this kid just goes on and on and on, like I am doing right now. So we go on to have Black Adam, who is to realize that he's to need to go on and start, like, looking up in the sky and be kind of just floating in midair up in the sky to just see, like, what he can go on and do to defend, of course, Kanda, who is no longer his home, because it looks drastically different, so that means that this is no longer his home. So, like, he's just a man at a time, it seems. He's a Captain America kind of character. So, we have a man who tells Black Adam that he needs a goofy catchphrase, and so Black Adam's like, well, what's going to be my catchphrase? And so the kid is like, well, tell him the black suit sent you. Or tell the man with the men in black sent you. And I'm like, that is the stupidest catchphrase, to the point where I couldn't even recognize it until me having to rationalize what it was. Because that was so stupid. It's like, Men in Black sent you. Like, okay, like, did Will Smith send him? Did Tommy Lee Jones? That was how stupid and cheesy that line was. But for that character, that is actually to be his catchphrase, I would just be like, man, that catchphrase needs an overhaul. But I'm sure it's probably going to get used in other iterations. Maybe it's going to get updated. Maybe there's going to be a goofy thing that they play around with for that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So we, of course, go on to have Black Adam, who is to look up in the sky, and we have at one point where the intergang mercenaries are starting to see Adriana and Amon, and they're wanting the crown from them. They know they have it, And so we have Black Adam who has to go on and step in and be the person to go up against these intergang people, but then that all leads to all of a sudden then having the Justice Society getting involved, and they come flying in or dropping in from off of this ship, and they're all trying to take out Black Adam. We have Dr. Fate, who ends up trying to come in first to multiply himself. There's multiple different Dr. Fates that are surrounding Black Adam. He's like, I can't hold him any longer. And then we have like Hawkman that rolls in, and he's using his mace to try to take out Black Adam. And so, like, the Justice Society knows nothing about the guy that they're facing. Like, this guy doesn't have much of a history or a backstory. So we know nothing about this guy, and we're just sending a team against him. This sounds like a bad plan, but a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So we then have Cyclone that is to just kind of make her tornado way in, with her just finding all of these metal poles from this building that is getting constructed. We have so much destruction blatantly in this movie, it's ridiculous. To go on and say that the Avengers had caused a lot of damage in a town is an understatement compared to what Justice Society and Black Adam does. Man, do they just annihilate a town when they roll in. Just completely just cripple and there's so much damage. We have freaking Atom Smasher who is just tripping over buildings, and it's ridiculous. But so we go on to have Cyclone, who is putting all these metal poles around Black Adam, and I'm immediately like, Cyclone, you're stupid. You're the dumbest character that I've ever seen, because metal poles surrounding a guy who can fly away obviously tells you that Cyclone can't douche. She's a waste of space. And it's horrifying. Why is she even here? I don't get it. She really is just nowhere near a character that is useful in this film. Sadly enough, she's just a female character, and that feels so horrible to say, but still, that's all she could really be here, because she's not useful. So, she's not really, taking down much of anybody in this whole entire film. So, then we have Atom Smasher, who is to fall out of the Hawk Cruise, or the Hawk Cruiser, and I want to say it was the Hawk Cruise, because that sounds like Hawk Cruise. Anyways, Atom Smasher goes on to kind of make his way from off of the plane, and he has to giant himself to then stop all these cars. And so now that Adam goes back to regular size, he has no clue where the fight is. He's just running around. He's like, yeah, I think I'm right there. I'll be right there. But then all of a sudden he realizes that the fight is the other way around, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'll make it there. And I was like, wow, they actually rationalize a character whose power isn't that he superhero lands perfectly right at the spot. And it's no, there's this goofy thing about him where he has to make his way to the fight. And I thought that was actually funny. I like that. Because it actually is to rationalize, not all these superheroes are perfect, but a lot of movies and shows make them out to be. So I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was a good thing. So Atom Smasher comes rolling in with this huge, massive body, and it's to put the hammer on the coffin here, which is to just put this one hand and smash Black Adam into the ground. And they naturally assume, like, oh yeah, like we beat him with just that one hand into the ground. Yeah, we beat him. High fives, everybody, except for Black Adam or Adam and Atom Smasher, who are kind of just stuck there. But come to find out, we have Black Adam, who is to use his power to then kind of push off Atom Smasher. And so Black Adam is to really showcase to these people that he is far too strong. He can't be taken out by any of them. It's not like Black Adam really has a kryptonite. All you have to do is go on and figure out how you can trick him into saying his magical word, which won't really happen. So, because he's already like a man of lightning anyways, as he was to have gone on and be created by the wizards from the Rock of Eternity, and we are to, of course, have him be an unstoppable force. So, at some point, we have this Justice Society that realizes, like, this guy is too strong. Like, there's no way we're gonna have, like, anything to go on and defeat this, even though Dr. Fate should be, like, one of the most, like, powerful beings in the DCEU, or just in DC Comics in general. Like, this guy is to be, like, Doctor Strange level. Like, he should be able to go on and just kind of do anything that he frickin' wants. But it seems that also Dr. Fate is really just going on and maybe not in his prime. Sadly enough. But we also are to have Dr. Fate, who is consistently, like, touching his helmet as he is to take it off, because we have Dr. Fate taking off his helmet in this movie, so we have to show Pierce Brosnan's face as much as possible, because otherwise you would probably have this guy who's like, okay, I'm going to be in my trailer, goodbye. So, when you have someone else being this other character. So, we have Dr. Fate touching his helmet, and he is to know about things, even to the point to where, when the Justice Society is realizing that they can't fight off Black Adam, but they realize that he has people that he is attached to, like Adriana and Amon, and so they then realize it's like, well, hey, like, why is Black Adam connected to these people? And that leads Dr. Fate to realize that Adriana can possibly lead them to the crown of Sabbac, and he's like, oh, like, we have to follow these people. We have to go on and protect them, because they obviously have this crown, and that's what the real prize is, what we're needing to go and get this and not fight off Black Adam, because that's going to be a wasted effort, a wasted at bat. So, for those of you who were to go on and watch baseball, so wasted at bat, like strikeout and whatever, or just ball four and you have to take a base or whatever, it's just a moot point. So, we then realize that Adriana and Amon are having these Interkane guys try to go after them, chasing after them, and then we finally have it reveal that Ashmiel is to be actually the real villain of this story. He's like the real leader of the Intergang, but we'll realize that he's even more than that. So we have Ishmael that is looking at Adriana. It's like, well, hey, where is the crown? And come to find out, she doesn't have it, because Amon actually has it, so they're chasing after him. When the Intergang, with all of their flying vehicles, find this kid, we then are to have this kid be in one of the vehicles, and now it becomes this chase for all of the Justice Society members to team up with Black Adam to put all their differences aside, because Adriana is telling Black Adam, it's like, well, hey, you guys need to save my son. And so, like, Adriana is telling Black Adam, it's like, hey, you Black Adam need to go on and listen to this Just Society because they know about the crown of Sabak, and so you need to kind of uh, go on and kind of team up. And Black Adam is like, no, like I can just do all this myself. So we have Black Adam and the Justice Society forcibly going through all these vehicles to find out who is to have this Amon, and come to find out by like Hawkman having interred, he can see through and just be like, oh, like this obviously isn't the one. So they continue to go on and chase and chase and chase all these vehicles to then realize, like throughout all these vehicles, that they now can't find the kid. And so we have a really funny moment here because, of course, Black Adam is to dispatch like every single one of these men and start to kill them off. And Dr. Fate is to ask Black Adam, it's like, well, hey, do you have one of the men that I can break their minds and find out like where they're holding this kid? And Black Adam's like, yeah, I killed all of them already. Black Adam's like, really? It's like, yeah. So come to find out, Hawkman is to have saved some of the men that Black Adam is to kill. And so Dr. Fate doesn't go on and like mind meld or anything with them, but instead we have Black Adam that is to fly these guys way high up in the air, and it's now put this like good cop bad cop game with going on with Hawkman, where we have Black Adam that is wanting to drop these men until they can like give him the location. So Black Adam starts dropping one, and Hawkman catches him, and so by the time that the other guy squeals, Black Adam drops that guy, and now Hawkman's like, God, like, now I have to go on and save both of these guys? Like, this freaking sucks. So, Hawkman catches both of the men, and so Black Adam knew that Hawkman was going to catch them, so it's like, yeah, like it wasn't that hard of a task. Come on. But Hawkman is like, man, I had to go on and catch both of these guys. Like, well, yeah, but they didn't die now, did they? So they, of course, realize that they are to need to go back to the place of which that this was to have already started, which, of course, was the mountains. And so we also have a moment where that's when they like reveal that not Harut, but Harut's dad was to be like the Dwayne The Rock Johnson character, and we have a much skinnier Dwayne The Rock Johnson character in the past, because they had to pull like the Captain America kind of thing going on with of course Dwayne, where they made him look a lot thinner, because of course they would. They had to like justify how this guy eventually becomes the Black Adam, but so, and how he looks drastically different than what he would normally look. So, and of course also they just had like this double. They just CGI'd Dwayne's face on top of this guy, but it was just some double. I'm like, wow, that sucks. Because DC be cheap. They couldn't, like, Captain America CGI it, but I guess it is what it is. So, but yeah, so come to find out there was a statue that it seemed was to look like Dwayne, but actually was to really just be his son. And so that's the statue that they made of, was of Black Adam's son instead of him, because that was the real true hero. And Black Adam was really just to be there to avenge his son. So, and be deemed by the wizards unworthy, so that way he was to go on and be imprisoned, to where Adrian had to go on and find him. So, if I hadn't said that already, so he was unworthy. He was basically Thor and the hammer, whole situation. So, anyways, moving on. So they go off to find where the Intergang are at, so that way they can re-obtain the crown. And so how they end up getting the crown and not being attacked by this Justice Society is they find a way to make this new mineral into this force field to where even Black Adam could not break through it. And so they go on, they end up getting the crown, and by the time that they end up releasing Amon and Adriana to the Justice Society, we then have to go on and have Black Adam, who is going to have to act really quickly because Amon is getting shot. So Black Adam has to go on and speedily catch this bullet that is going to shoot Amon, and all of the Justice Society members are using their powers to try and shield or kind of phase some certain characters to get out of there, to have Black Adam use his full power to kill all the Intergang that are in this little bubble, so that way we of course do not have Ishmael use the crown's power, which of course he is to be a descendant from that king from the early part of this film. And so it seems that descendant after descendant was to have gone on and told each one of them about the secrets of this crown and what all they needed to go on and do, and so on and so forth. And so by the time that we are to have Black Adam blast all the way through all these Intergang people, we're thinking like, okay, finally this story is now resolved. High five, everybody. We've won the day, so on and so forth, to the point of even Black Adam staying like, okay, now I've completely gotten my vengeance. I feel that Kanda is all safe. So, like, you know what? If the Justice Society so badly just wants to kind of take me out or to neutralize me, then I am happy to go on and just, like, give myself up. So, we go on to have Black Adam, who is to surrender himself to Hawkman and is to say the words Shazam, and then it's become this much more thinner version of Teth Adam, or Teth Adam. So, and everybody just calls him Teth Adam through most of this film until they realize, oh, they should be calling him Black Adam because the black suit sent them. So we go on to have Black Adam, who goes to this kind of max prison or this like super prison, and so come to find out what they do is we end up seeing Harcourt, who of course a lot of people will have known her from the Suicide Squad movie or also from Peacemaker. She ends up making an appearance on here, and she looks drastically different than the last time we saw her, because of course we do, because that's what happens when you've not gone on and seen a person for a while. They just have to look drastically different than what they did in other films. But then it's also like hey, don't I remember her from somewhere? Oh, she's the Peacemaker girl. Oh, yeah. So And if everybody's never gone on and seen Peacemaker, Peacemaker in the early parts of it is a real fun show, but eventually it gets too goofy and too weird, and has Aquaman and Flash in there briefly as a stupid thing that I didn't really understand, as well as all the other Justice League members that are just to be shadows of their former self. Wasn't that stupid? So we have Black Adam here, who ends up getting put in his own version of a Bacta tank. If you guys are to know anything about Star Wars, the Book of Boba Fett, he ends up getting put into this water-like tank, and he is to be consistently like put out or submerged under this water, and he is to never be able to go on and spout another word ever again. So this guy is to be in the cell, and all the Justice Society members again, they're like high-fiving, they're like, yeah, we're done, we've done all this. And we have our characters who are to have the crown of Sabak, and they're like, okay, let's look at the crown. This crown looks really cool, but like, how are we gonna unlock the secrets of this thing? And come to find out, we of course have this crown that has this saying upon it about death, and they're like, okay, that is really weird, even to the point where Adam Smasher is thinking, like, well, maybe it's like a thing like life is short, or go with the one you love, or something like that. So we come to find out that the whole key of this is whoever is to be the person who is to wield the crown is to need to die so they can go to the rock of fraternally, like basically meaning, or fatality, which means that like when they die, we then have, of course, this monstrous character who is to be called Sabak that ends up taking over this person's like realm, and is to like be tied to Ishmael, almost as a Steppenwolf kind of thing. Come to find out, I think somewhere in this movie they are also bizarrely trying to tie in like Sabak with Darkseid. I don't know why, but they like were trying to tie in Sabak with Darkseid in this movie. From when I kind of looked it up, because I was like, okay, like how is Sabak really connected to this film? But I guess like we had the king who was to go on and get this crown, and was to try to have a Sabak come to this realm, the earthly realm, so he can go on and try to find the anti-life equation. But so, since that didn't work out, then we, of course, had Darkseid go on and put out Steppenwolf. And so, like, this whole thing could have happened a lot sooner if someone would have just gone on and put on that crown of Sabak and just become Sabak. But it just didn't happen that way. So, now we go on to have Sabak, who is to go on here and try to sit on this crown so that way he can become all powerful. So we then have Dr. Fate, who is to realize that things aren't as over as he's to think, and because Kent keeps touching this helmet, and he ends up telling now Hawkman, he's like, well, somebody's gonna die here. And so Hawkman is like, well, who do you think it is? Like, it's obviously Atom Smasher, right? Because that kid, he's a rookie, right? And so Kent is like, no. It's like, well, Cyclone, right? She's the waste of time character. Like, she could just fall on the sword, right? Give her something to do in this movie. And Kent's like, no. And so Hawkman is like, well, is it me? And Kent's like, well, but Ken is like, well, like, here's the thing about knowing the future is we can always go on and change it. So, like, we have basically Kent who's trying to pull off the Doctor Strange thing where, like, you can see a bajillion outcomes and there might be one way to change it, and that might be the one that Kent takes. So, Sabak ends up going for his for his throne, and now we have the Justice Society that is intercepting him and trying to battle him. And while Dr. Fate is trying to fight off Sabak and shield off the rest of the Justice Society because he knows that they might die, Fate tries to fight off Sabak, and the whole entire time also Dr. Fate is to be in many other places at once, to the point of now Fate talking to Black Adam and saying like, hey man, like, you got to get out of the cell, like, I know that you can, and so hey man, like, get out of here so you can fight off Sabak. So miraculously we just have this cell that opens. Black Adam ends up getting out of his cell, and you would immediately think he would just be tossing off this mask thing and say Shazam and get the heck out of there. But no. Instead, we have Black Adam that is, or Teth Adam, that is fighting off all these guards without his power. And I'm like, so what does he need the powers for? And so Black Adam ends up swimming out of this this underwater prison that I don't know the actual name of, and I'm sure I should have probably would have gone on and researched that, and maybe they probably said the name of it somewhere, but I didn't. I couldn't even been bothered. So we have Black Adam who is going on, I guess, with one breath to swim up to the top, to then finally be able to mutter his one catchphrase, and which is really just Shazam instead of the black man, or oh my god, that was horrible. The black suit sent you. The stupid thing, the stupid catchphrase. The whole catchphrase should have really just been Shazam, but we can't say that often at all. So, we have Black Adam, or Teth Adam, who tries to swim up to the top, but it seems that he is to start to drown, and he goes to whatever his kind of heaven is to see his son and his wife. And so immediately we're thinking, I'm like, hey, like, Teth is gonna want to go on and get one more bang from his wife, right? Come on, woman, let's go off into the side of heaven a little bit, you know. Anyways, that was a stupid joke. So Teth is to talk to his family, and he's realizing like, hey, like, I've come back to you, like we can all just live happy and whatever in the afterlife. And Harada is telling his father, it's like, no, it's not your time. Because of course it isn't, because we have to even show that our character can die so we can come back and fight Sabak. So Black Adam just wakes up and is to say the words of Shazam, and then is to go on and fight Sabak. So come to find out, finally, when Dr. Fate is starting to weaken, we have the Justice Society that rushes in to realize that Dr. Fate is to switch places with Hawkman, and Dr. Fate is to die here. But I'm thinking, if you kill off Kent, you don't kill off Dr. Fate, because if you kill off Dr. Fate, I would be ticked off. So we also had a little bit of backstory with Dr. Fate when he was talking about him in his time knowing about certain planes and about a war that he didn't agree with and so on and so forth. There's some little backstory with Kent, but for me, like, I probably don't want to try to go on and remember or recite any of that because there's a lot of jargon there, and plus also there was already the more important dialogue that I've already stated. But so, but come to find out here, Doctor Fate is to kind of land himself on this sword to get killed off because he is to realize that someone else will go on and become Dr. Fate and will have Kent kind of stuck into the helmet anyways, because when looking at it, anybody who is to go on and die while wielding the Dr. Fate is just going to get stuck forever in that helmet anyways. They're not going to go on to heaven after this. They're just going to get stuck in the helmet like a genie in the bottle. And so that's why we go on and have every Dr. Fate who ends up just becoming crazy because there's so many different personalities and there's so many things in the Fate helmet that just drives someone to insanity. So we have Sabak that is to kill off Dr. Fate here. I think he ends up like punching him to death, I think is what happened, like punching through him and kills him. So now we have Black Adam that comes in. I almost wanted to say Dwayne Johnson, but anyways. So we go on to have all the Justice Society trying to get their licks in, trying to get their punches in, so on and so forth. But the big huzzah after Hawkman is to have gone on and changed his mace to some axe is that we have Black Adam who just peels Sabak in half as if this was like Terrifier all over again, and I was to go on and see some woman just get sawed in half. Now I'm seeing the same thing with Sabak. So we have Black Adam that neutralizes Sabak here, and now we can have this high five moment, and we are to have also had Hawkman, who is to use the Dr. Fate helmet to like duplicate himself like Fate did. And I thought that was a cool thing to just say, like, okay, anybody who I guess touches the helmet can go on and use its ability. So, and possibly not go crazy. But it's wanting to make me think, like, okay, who is going to become the next Dr. Fate? And please let there be a movie about it, because I would be like, heck yeah, I will go on and see that film. Because if we already have a Doctor Strange in the MCU, why can't we have a Dr. Fate movie? Because that would be great. That was the best thing out of this film. So they need to go on and do the best thing that came out of this movie and put it in a film. Whether it's going to be like the whole like prequel to Doctor Fate, I think I'd be fine with that. Maybe they can roll in a number of other characters that may either get used in a HBO Max spinoff. I would buy into that if they were going to go on and do this whole supernatural thing, because it seems to be working for Marvel. So why not DC again try to coattail on to doing their supernatural DCEU finally? It'll probably never happen. But so we have everybody that now can go on and finally are like, okay, Sabak's dead. Now let's high five. Now let's state that, like, okay, everything is to rest now. And so we start to realize that Black Adam cannot just go on and be like stowed away. Like, he's coming off to be very effective. So after they've beaten Savak, now we have this drone that comes in, and is to kind of wrap this movie up after everybody's like, okay, like, uh, wait, let me get this out, and then we'll get to the drone part, the end credit scene. So we have Adam who is going on and realizing, like, well, like, what do you think that like I should be called now? Like, I need this catchy name. And they're like, well, since your name was already Tough Adam, like, how about we just call you Black Adam because of that goofy catchphrase that Amon kept having you state, but state at the right time. Like you say the line and then you kill the guy. Uh, and then like Adam was like, "Oh, okay, all right, I figured it out now." So stupid. There was even at one point where uh, Adam was to like toss the guy, and by the time that he says the whole line, or tries to get the whole line out, the guy dies already. So the line is too freaking long. The catchphrase needs to be shorter, like huzzah, like that could be like something, or like abracadabra or some goofy thing that could tie into this character being this kind of like magic wielder. But it was also kind of funny because like Dr. Fate, when he was kind of setting this up, he's like, well, hey, like, I know about magic. Of course you do. I know about magic, so I think I'm going to be the best guy to try to take down Black Adam. Sure you will. Until you find out that he just can't be beat because he's Dwayne The Rock frickin' Johnson. But so they go on and they give him a name, and so they kind of send him off on his way to just stay in this one location to defend it. And so much so that now we have the end credit scene, because everything else is to be over. Everybody's like, yeah, they beat him, it's great. So now the end credit scene. So I don't think anything else is really just revealed here, or to like tell us where another movie is going. So we go on to have this drone that comes in, and Amanda Waller is talking to Black Adam and stating like, okay, well, like, yeah, you're the champion of this one location, and guess what? Like, if I couldn't have gone on and imprisoned you, now I'm going to state that you need to stick in this one place, or I'm going to go on and send some equally powerful people after you. And so Black Adam is just like, oh, like, you will now, will ya? So Black Adam is like, well, send them all. And the very first person that ends up appearing is to end up being a certain guy named Henry Cavill. You probably know him as Superman. Seemingly in a tweakingly different Superman costume, and I'm like, thank God, because anything could probably be better than the black and white costume from probably either the Snyder Cut or whatever the heck else was going on with Superman for any of those movies. And so we, of course, have Henry coming in and having a line stating it's like, well, like, it seems like you've gone on and made a number of people nervous, Black Adam, but I think you need to go on and work with me here. And so that's, of course, when the movie just kind of ends. And so we get supposedly Superman and Black Adam and maybe Shazam either working together, or because really, when looking at it, like, I'm assuming that Shazam is going to go on and need a villain for some movie somewhere down the road, and why not it be Black Adam, who has already kind of been set up here as this character that can kind of play both sides. So, a little confused though, like, we don't set up this character to become a villain, we just kind of set him up to just be like whatever the story just needs to be for this one film. and maybe they'll figure out what this character is going to do somewhere down the road later, because DC doesn't really have like a real thought about like what they're going to do like 3 steps ahead. They're just like, oh no, like we might as well just hope that this is to work out so well that we can just do something else with it, because like that's how bad things are just getting, or that's how much that they have to consistently go on and always just reboot or re-put together or whichever. But I'm kind of happy that it now seems that we're going on and finally having a Superman that is going to go on and stay here. Again, that'll lead us to the question. It's like, well, Ben Affleck is definitely coming back as Batman, right? For maybe whatever the Flash is going to be. The Flashpoint, whatever thing that they're putting together, whatever goofy thing that they're doing. But, man, are they just going to have to put together that whole movie with another person? And I wonder how cheap that they're going to try to do that film. Because they already spent a huge amount of money on that movie just to realize, like, oh yeah, it's another film we can't put out because of an actor that we can't just shove this movie out there now and make our money back. Because now nobody likes them. Maybe you should go on and DC, maybe you should just make your actors freaking happy to be in their roles, and they won't go on and pull off what Ezra Miller did, or any of the other actors who were to go on and just not be like the actors who are to be on their best behaviors when the cameras are off. Come on, DCEU. Like, you have had to, like, reboot so many freaking times. How many things do they have to just go on and rebuffer and figure out and put the pieces together? Because I don't see at all that we're gonna bring back, like, Ben Affleck's done. So are they just gonna go on and, like, fuse Robert Pattinson with now the Justice League? Even though they want to have that as well as like the Joker movies be their own thing, where else are they gonna go? Or even they gonna do another Batman that has Robert Pattinson in it? Should they just go on and just state like, let's go back with Christian Bale? Like, let's just have him come back. I'm sure he'll be happy to go on and come back as Batman. Because he's clearly like stated that he's like, hey man, I'm willing to do the Batman thing. Like it would be cool for him to work with Nolan again to do some other thing. But who knows if really the DCEU wants to work with Nolan, so on and so forth. This is I'm rambling here, but again, like I'm trying to put the DCEU pieces together here. I'd be glad if Affleck came back as Batman. Like, I really wasn't won over by him. I know that there's a lot of people that just thoroughly love his Batman, and I just go on and I'm like, like I could take it or leave it. Like, I would immediately just want us to at some point just do a like a Batman Beyond. I've always been kind of waiting for them to do something like that, but it would all be like a Batman that is in the future, and like of course everybody would be like, well, if we're gonna have an old Batman, we might as well be Keaton. And so instead we're gonna have a Michael Keaton that may have to go on and CGI look young to maybe have him look older in another Batman movie. Wouldn't that be cool? For him to just kind of try as much as possible to make him look CGI'd young and then turn him around. But all honesty, DC doesn't have a good track record as far as their CGI. But hey, so what are they going to do? for Batman because they have to roll up a Justice League somehow, and it seems that they're not going to replace Gal Gadot because why would they? Even though her movies have just run into the ground. But anyways, mood point. We have a Aquaman 2 coming, and I could possibly be excited about that. Uh, I could just feel kind of mid about Aquaman and also Shazam. I could just be kind of like, okay, I think I could have fun with a movie like that. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. I've been talking for far too long. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.